Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Tri-Brigade Yugioh deck profile for December 2023. Wanted to bring you all a pure version of the Tri-Brigade deck. I know that the Fire King structure deck just recently came out, and there are a couple versions that you can run the actual Fire King engine comboed with the Tri-Brigades, but it still focuses more on the Fire King engine and just adding the Tri-Brigade as an added backup. So I may do a deck profile for the Tri-Brigade Fire Kings later down the road, but for now we're sticking to a pure version of the Tri-Brigade deck, making full use of the send and setup power that the Tri-Brigade monsters have to go into your many different link monsters, and then also utilizing the spell and traps in the deck for more of that setup as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck. For our main deck Tri-Brigade monsters, 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Fractal. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to send one level 3 or lower Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast type monster from your deck to the graveyard. You can banish any number of Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast type monsters from your graveyard to special summon one Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast Link monster from your extra deck with link rating equal to the number of banished. Also, you can only use Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast monsters as link material for the rest of this turn. So really not a lockdown for the deck to begin with, since that's the majority of what we run in the main deck for our plays anyway. Fractal just helps to send and set up any of the needed Tri-Brigade monsters in our graveyard, and then have that option to get out our many different link monsters that we run for them as well. For the other Tri-Brigade monsters, 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Harass as well. You can discard one other Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast type monster to special summon this card from your hand, so it also helps to set up the many different Tri-Brigade monsters in your graveyard. And you can banish any number of Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast monsters in your graveyard to special summon one Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast Link monster from your extra deck with link rating equal to the number of banished. Also, you can only use Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast monsters as link material for the rest of this turn. So same card effect as Fractal for the link setup, just being another special summon by discarding another Wing Beast, Beast, or Beast Warrior monster to use for the hand as well for this play. Also running 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Kit. You can banish any number of Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast monsters in your graveyard to special summon one Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast Link monster from your extra deck with link ratings equal to the number banished. Also, you're going to use these same requirements for your link summoning for the rest of the turn. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send one Tri-Brigade card from your deck to the graveyard except for Kit. So Kit, with the send of some of your other cards like Fractal, can help to set up additional Tri-Brigade monsters in your graveyard for that send and setup to have plenty to use for the additional banish as well. We're also running the 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Nerval. You can banish any number for the same special summon options and restrictions. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add one Tri-Brigade monster from your deck to your hand except for Nerval. You're going to use each effect of Nerval once per turn. So if you send with your Kit Nerval to the graveyard, then you have the send power to then add one Tri-Brigade monster from your deck to your hand, giving you the monster you may need to then go for the summon of that additional monster. So depending on how you send Kit to the graveyard, it can even be for the setup of your other monsters. If it was discarded off of Karas, that can be the starting play there, giving you one additional monster from there. It all comes down just to how you send them to the graveyard to begin your play setup. That's why we're running 3 of all the different copies, so we have plenty of resources to use for them all. The only one of for the Tri-Brigades we're running is the 1 copy of Tri-Brigade Mercurier. When your opponent activates a monster effect while you control a fusion monster that mentions Fallen Albaz, you can send this card from your hand or face from the field to negate that effect. If this card's banished, you can add from your deck to your hand 1 Fallen of Albaz or 1 monster that mentions it, except for Mercurier. So it's just added as an additional Tri-Brigade monster to use for the send and setup banish for this card, as the added search power for that monster, or just the additional resource. That's why we're only running the 1 copy. For more of the generic lineup, we also run 2 copies of Rescue Cat. If you wanted to take out the Mercurier, you can always put in a 3rd copy of Rescue Cat. It goes for the beast targets in the deck. So with it, we can summon out our Karas or our Kits to the field, setting up more monsters to then use for a link play, and then giving us more graveyard setup with those many different monsters as well. And then for the hand trap lineup, 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, just so you have more of a means to shut down any of your opponent's cards if you go second against them, with the added hand traps being 2 copies of Effect Veiler and the 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird. I thought of running Nibiru just because you have the Tribute Graveyard setup to then set up more Tri-Brigade, so even if you have your board set up, you can go for a Nibiru setup. If you wanted to take out either the Drolls or the Effect Veiler and try Nibiru, by all means, you can give that a try. Moving on now to the spells, being more of a pure build of the Tri-Brigade deck. 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Rendezvous. Now, if you wanted to run Tri-Brigade Roar, that card came out in the Cyberstorm Access set. You can always mix and match numbers of that card as well, maybe dropping 2 copies of Rendezvous for 2 copies of Roar. But with Rendezvous, target any number of Link, Beast, Monster, Beast, Warrior, Wing Beast monster you control. They gain 700 attack till the end of this turn. If a linked Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So added protection for your linked monsters on the field, depending on if you have arrows pointing to some of the other ones on the field, as well as an added boost power, but then also protection in the graveyard. But once again, if you want to mix and match numbers of this card, taking out for Tri-Brigade Roar, you can always try that also. And also 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Standoff. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except for Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast monsters. You can send 1 monster from your hand or field to the graveyard to add 1 Tri-Brigade monster from your deck to your hand with different original type. Then that monster sent to the graveyard. You can only use this effect of Standoff once per turn, and if this card in the owner's spell and trap card zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can activate this effect. Your opponent cannot declare an attack this turn. So this gives you more of that graveyard setup just by being able to send a Tri-Brigade card from your hand to the graveyard to then use the effect to send an additional card. So if you have Kit to send, that can send off Nerval. Nerval can then add the additional Tri-Brigade monster you may need, whether it be Karas or your Fractal, to then use for the send or setup from your hand, and then have enough monsters in the graveyard for the added banish of your Tri-Brigade cards. Also, the 1 copy of Tri-Brigade Airborne Assault. It's just a tech card. It could be another card you potentially take out for the Roar spot. Just being able to special summon from our deck with a different type than that card onto the field with attack less than or equal to, just to get the resources out of the deck as well. And for more of the more generic spells, the 3 copies of Tenki. Just being able to search out one of the more important monsters in the deck in the form of Fractal with this continuous spell. This could be another card if you potentially wanted to drop the number down to 2, since you only have the 1 search target, to add in a 3rd Rescue Cat. You can do that as well with this spot. And then also the 1 copy of Call by the Grave and the 1 copy of Foolish Burial for the additional spells that we run in the deck. For the trap lineup, I run 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Revolt. Special summon a number of Beast, Beast Warrior, and or Wing Beast monsters that are banished and or in your graveyard, but negate their effects. Then immediately after this effect resolves, link summon 1 Tri-Brigade Link monster using only those monsters. You can activate Tri-Brigade Revolt once per turn, but this is one of the better ways to then make use of the link summon on your opponent's turn, summoning out cards like Ominous Omen onto the field, and then giving that additional banish of a card on the field when it is summoned out. Also 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Oath for the added option of targeting a link monster you control, and special summoning 1 Beast, Beast Warrior, Wing Beast monster with a different type from your hand or graveyard. If you control at least 1 of each on the field, you can banish this card and then target a face-up spell or trap your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of this turn. So another way to just quick effect, since it is a trap, banish and stop that face-up card, but also just giving you more resources for those other cards against your opponent. With the last of the traps being 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, just the hand trap of choice, along with the Ash Blossoms, the Drolls, and the Veilers we run if we go second against our opponent, or more of just a guessing game if your opponent wants to try and take out the Revolt or the Imperm on the field before you can activate one or the other against your opponent to either stop a monster effect or banish one of their cards. Moving on now to the extra deck, we are running 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Farragut, the Barren Blossom. During your main phase, you can special summon 1 level 4 lower Beast, Beast Warrior, Wing Beast monster from your hand. Also, you cannot use monsters as link material for the rest of this turn, except for Beast, Beast Warrior, Wing Beast monsters. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can draw 1 card, then place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. You can only use such effect of Farragut once per turn, but special summon resources to then just go into your bigger and bigger link plays, with some of the other link 2s being 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Bearbrum, Rampant Ravager. You can discard 2 cards, target 2 your banished level 4 or lower Beast, Beast Warrior, Wing Beast monsters, special summon them. So it extends your resources, but also being able just to add if this card is sent to the graveyard, a Tri-Brigade spell or trap from your deck to your hand, gives you search options for some of the lower numbers we run as well, giving you access to Revolt or any of the spells I mentioned before also. And then the 1 copy of Tri-Brigade Rugal and the 2 copies of Ominous Omen. If you wanted to run the new Link 5, you could take out 1 copy of Ominous Omen or Ominous Omen and put in the spot for the Link 5 there. And then also the additional copy of our which this spot could also technically be for the Link 5, the Desperate Doom Eagle. We don't have much of a wind lineup to use for this card, so this is probably just another placeholder. We do have some wind monsters, but they don't pop up as often to use for our summons, with Nerval being the majority of the cards. And then also the one copy of Link Karibo. Once again, another way to set Nerval up in the graveyard. One Darumidol, one Nightmare Phoenix, one Unicorn, one SP Little Knight, and then the one access code and the one Apollosa. You can even take out the access code if you want for the Link 5 spot if you want to keep all the other cards the same. But I would say the Desperate Doom Eagle for the Link 5 to add for the Tri-Brigade monsters. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, as I mentioned before, the graveyard setup. So even starting off with cards like Tri-Brigade Standoff, just being able to, with this card, send one monster from your hand or field to the graveyard to add one Tri-Brigade monster from your deck to your hand. So you can use this card if you have Kit in your hand to send Kit to the graveyard, adding the needed monster for your Tri-Brigade. Kit will then activate, being able to then send one Tri-Brigade card from your deck or graveyard, except for Kit. So then you can send Nerval. Nerval can then be used to add Karas, because if this card is sent to the graveyard to add a Tri-Brigade monster, then you have your Karas set up for this card as well. Then you can either go for the summon of Fractal, or you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to send one level 3 or lower Beast Wing Warrior type monster. So then you can use it from your hand to send this card to send one additional Tri-Brigade monster to the graveyard. This can set up the good majority of cards in your graveyard as well. Then you have the needed monsters just for the summon of Karas on the field for the banish of your additional monsters, depending on which links you may want to go for. You also have the play and setup to use your Link 2 monsters to then extend into the needed plays as well. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, I wanted to do a pure build of the Tri-Brigades, and maybe I'll focus on one that adds back up to a version of the Fire King deck if most of you want to see it. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.